I will say this: the series can be a lot of fun with the action, the gore, the animation, which is pretty goddamn good, right? However, it did feel like Dante was just second fiddle to Lady and the Bunny Bastard the whole entire plot, which is supposed to be his plot, but I'll get to it. I'll get to it. But yeah, spoilers, by the way, everybody. The series focuses on three characters, right? Or tries to. Dante, Lady, and the Rabbit Man. Dante's whole story and legacy is just, is just the plate that makes the other two characters shine the most, right? He's mostly in the background, captured or some shit, right? Which is just a shame, right? This series is basically just a different story on how Dante unlocks his demon side and how his half of the amulet is used to try and take down the barrier between worlds that Sparta made to protect the humans. And personally, I did not like this version of the story. Like, don't get me wrong, Dante is what I expected Dante to be. A bit goofy and rash and, irresponsible. Only issue with him was, his one liner sucking, mainly due to him just over explaining his jokes and, not having really good jokes or anything, right? He normally makes others the butt of the joke, but here everything is just flat, right? The fact he doesn't have ebony and ivory is just a criminal offense that I cannot just hand wave away, right? But let's get to the actual story. The story is basically just Bunnyman wanting the worlds to become one and needs Dante's amulet before, the government tries to take it away from him, right? And he needs Dante to go ahead and awaken his demon blood to go ahead and just to unlock the amulet to do such things, right? And he is being forced by the bunny man who knows that he's stuck in the middle, of course, that demon blood will awaken from fighting the government, his own forces, and so on, right? His fellow demons are a mix of demons we see in DMC 3, 4, and 5, from the Fire and Wind twins from 3, the Plant Lady from 4, and Cavalieri from 5. There's also another morph demon. I forgot. Maybe he's in 2 or 1. I don't give a shit, right? They also added an aspect I wasn't expecting, humanizing the goddamn demons, like pretty much just the non-corrupt ones that aren't just following Mundus and just being or looking fucking terrifying, right? They even explain that demons are just descendants of humans who went through an evolution to survive in the demon world way back when, and that's why they look like and act like this. I don't truly hate the idea, but it's not something I like direction wise. And by doing this, they made it so humans can deal with demons at a scientific level, right? I don't think this was really explored in the games, if even at all, right? They can kill demons using weapons that fuck them up at a molecular fucking level, right? DNA wise, like overall, like they know the DNA structure of fucking demons, right? Fucking ridiculous. They get if a demon gets shot with anti-demon bullets, 9 times out of 10 they fucking die because the bullet that's in their body fucking explodes and just full on kills them. They got everything down to a fucking science in Devil May Cry, the Netflix animated show. And personally, I'm not a fan of this direction, and I'm not really too opposed to it, but I feel like this could have been done to a degree using human known magics and stuff like that. Just make it interesting. I keep saying I don't know what's going on. I'm pretty fucking tired. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, Rabbit Man is also revealed to be he's also revealed to be a human who is just pumping himself full of demon blood to get demon powers, because of course. He was just an orphan who found a portal to the demon world and was raised by the more normal or human demons, and then he tries to get them to a better home, which is on Earth, because compared to hell, it's just it's paradise, right? I really did like the change in design, like overall artistic visuals and designs when he went into hell. I thought that was really interesting and cool. The only issue with our boy here, taking demons to Earth is Lady, or Mary Arkham, but I'm just going to call her Lady. Still, she has that origin where her dad becomes obsessed with demons to protect them and ends up killing her mom and burning in the house. And whether they keep him alive for the future use or whatever the fuck. Who the fuck knows, right? They did go ahead and sort of expand more on it, on why he's doing this, to where a demon attacked them in a subway, and the train kills the demon. And when the demon lunged at Mary, the mom went out to go run to protect her, but the dad was too scared to even move. And because of this fear, he wants to go ahead and find a way to fight demons for good, and that's why he gets so obsessed. And even the mom went ahead and, said a line that was just out of line. She said, "Oh, like you didn't protect us on the subway." She knew she fucked up when she said that shit. But yeah, that they still have that origin for Mary. Lady doesn't just become a demon hunter though. She becomes a demon hunter for the fucking government in a program run by the vice president, Batman. Like I'm being fucking serious here. Kevin Conroy voiced this guy, a religious nut of a fucking vice president. At the same time, Lady is pretty ruthless, way more foul-mouthed than her in-game counterpart, and honestly, it's kind of cringy. It's kind of much at a point, right? A lot of excess of her cussing and her shitty one-liners, and a lot of it, being Alice in Wonderland and bunny themed, because she's always talking about the bunny bastard, right? Lady and her team, I didn't really hate her team. I didn't mind them at all. They were fine. With their anti-demon tech, they go to the extreme to destroy demons at any cost, right? Even the more human ones, because they are just humanized demons. They did this just to create a moral issue, and I don't know. I personally don't think that this works for Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry is a series that focuses mostly on Dante's origin and story, being the son of Sparta, and later on his nephew would take on this responsibility and legacy of protecting the Earth realm, right? The human world as well, right? This show does weaken Dante a good bit. Even his devil trigger, which is supposed to be, something that overpowers a majority of demons, it's the famous devil trigger, of course. It's whack, right? It doesn't do fuck all. It doesn't even look that badass either. And it reminds me of Devilman Crybaby, and it's just a fucking shame. Most of this story just revolves around Rabbit Man trying to combine both worlds, which doesn't work. Lady and Dante prevents that, and he gets killed finally, thanks to Lady. Lady has killed a majority of these higher demons, while Dante has killed maybe one with, his devil trigger to, show how powerful it is, and proceeds never to do it again. He kills this guy with brute strength with the devil trigger. I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering right. And, he kills another Cavalieri with a trick with having his head get cut off, thanks to his head being on the other side of the portal, right? Between between hell and earth, right? Which, is more of a trick. And at the same time, I'm pretty sure we didn't get any royal guard, any trickster, any swordsman. And it's sad. Any gunslinger, because of course any gun he tries to use doesn't fucking work, or he crushes them because he's too goddamn strong. But for some reason they just chose not to have him have ebony and ivory for some fucking reason. But yeah, Lady has more kills under her belt than him, arguably more plot relevance too. And even when they tried to redeem her, even when they tried to do this, it's ruined when she has encountered the more normal innocent demon refugees and even saw them get eaten. And what did they deserve? Get lit up regardless, right? And even the human man, or our bunny man himself, got lit up too, right? Which is fucking crazy. And even the ending, when she puts Dante to sleep and she puts her faith in Batman to do the right thing, even though we know that she doesn't know that all the refugees she tries to help in that building, he full on just blows up and just invaded hell with U.S. forces, by the way. Like they had oil discovered in their lands. Like why? What the fuck? They even made internment camps and prisons and shit in hell, right? Fucking crazy. Dante, my poor sweet boy Dante, is put on ice, and it ends. The whole series ends with Virgil freeing demons from human captivity and saying that he is the approaching storm. Yeah, they really just went there. They referenced the song. They played the song. It's too on the nose for me, at least. Like the Devil Trigger song playing while Dante turned into his Devil Trigger form. Devils Never Cry playing at the end, and plenty of the goddamn Capcom Easter eggs as well. Like, apparently Dante was in Raccoon City, and the Mega Man Easter egg, the Street Fighter one, and just so much more, so much more that's hidden in there every so often. It's not so secret of Easter eggs, but they're there. They're there. The music, I'm never gonna go ahead and say the music in this show is trash. I may not agree with Limp Bizkit as an intro, but it works, I suppose. Everything else, fire. Amy Lee with her new song for this series specifically, just fucking fire. Love it. I listen to it every day. It's fucking great. Even so, that still does not excuse like what the show and the story is, right? The quality of the story. I just think the main weak point of the story for me is just the emphasis on Lady being this linchpin, and having her have much more of the spotlight than Dante in his own fucking show, right? Like, yeah, he was important-ish because of his blood, but his half of the amulet was more important than him, and he couldn't even protect the shit most of the goddamn show. Dante feels underpowered. Lady feels like she's protected by a plot and has a lot more relevance to the plot than, sometimes even Dante. And the bunny dude, honestly, I had no issue with him, right? He did his part fine, and his whole backstory was pretty cool too. They just put a lot of emphasis on these three individuals, and while Dante was captured, tied up, or both, he is fighting enemies he should have easily been able to take care of, right? Especially since his demon blood was awakened, he should have been stronger, and the technology used to hurt demons should have been useless on him, right? Especially at this point, because apparently they need to make sure the DNA is basically the same that they know of, like the whole genetic sequence or whatever the fuck, right? Now that I think about it, before his blood awakened, the demon part of his body, he was still affected by the bullet that blew his shoulder up, right? Yet when Bunnyman was literally pumping his body full of blood, by the way, full of demon blood, and turned into a fucking monster, somehow he was still too human for the bullets to explode, which is bullshit, right? Also, you mean to tell me with like the speed and precision of Dante and Lady, they couldn't just go ahead and easily destroy the module on his fucking chest so easily? They should have just said jackpot and ended the day with his death, because that I find that bullshit, right? It's stupid. And at the same time, like I'm just pointing out shit that just so fucking stupid at this point. When Dante saw the amulet for the first time, completed, right? He didn't really question anything, right? Hey, look, there's this blue part, connected to my part. What the fuck is this? And he should have been like, oh shit, this is my brother's. But he didn't do that. It had to be pointed out to him by the Rabbit Man, which kind of frustrates me, because like I know Dante isn't the brightest dude, but he at least knows like common fucking sense. Yes, he is a goofy guy, but he recognizes when to get serious. The series for me is just a solid 6. Like, it's not a bad show, it's just different. I definitely see people complaining that the follower of God, the one guy, immediately goes for a genocide of an entire species for the Lord when given the fucking chance. Keep in mind, he is the only one. He is not just some priest or anything. He is just some overly religious guy, right? Who is the vice president and the leader of this organization. The same organization that has proved to him that demons are just the descendants of humans who wound up in another dimension somehow. And, they all carry a common ancestor. So they aren't really demons in the traditional sense. But yes, he is extremely racist to demons, maybe even more so than Furin, right? I don't know. The series, I feel like it's trying to be much more than what Devil May Cry is, right? I know they did this with Castlevania, and that was great with varying degrees of quality for each season, which still amount to good content in the end. I personally just feel like what they're doing here with the story isn't a good direction for Devil May Cry. Here in Devil May Cry, I can see, here in the show, I can see people enjoying this season. I did to a certain degree, but the story is not what I'm looking for a Devil May Cry show, honestly, for a story for Devil May Cry. I enjoy Devil May Cry for Dante, him styling on his enemies, overpowering them with his style, with his, assortment of weaponry, and, a story that is connected to his past, his family, and his legacy that lives through him, his brother, and his nephew. Don't get me wrong, Lady is a great side character, but her being front and center and changing her up a bit to be this soldier girl who cusses a whole damn lot and throws out one-liners that don't fucking work and is protected by plot and it's given much more relevance than before. She kind of reminds me of Captain Marvel in a way where they have a similar level of unlikableness because of this, because of the way they push them, right? And it's upsetting because I really like Lady, right? I love Mary Arkham. She's cool. She's a very cool character, right? I just feel like they just made her unlikable for reasons, I guess, right? For a bigger redemption later on, but I don't know. I don't know. I would have preferred it if the story was more closer to Devil May Cry 3. And, they can add their special anti-demon force that enter the tower and climb it and, fight demons or whatever. Dante doing the same thing and killing more powerful demons and going through a different route, but also meeting Lady in certain parts or whatever the fuck. And he's just styling, doing his thing. It's extremely fun and flashy when he's on screen. The military tries to use helicopters and surveillance drones and even satellites, but Virgil does what Virgil does. Destroys them all in a very flashy and very Virgil way. And overall, just follow the fucking events of the game, but add your military. Reveal more about Sparta. Hell, even mention Nell Goldstein about how they tried to replicate her designs to fight demons, but they were too complicated and they step into a realm of, development that the vice president wasn't comfortable making for his organization because he is a religious nut, of course. And so they couldn't really 100% replicate her work. Enrich the story with the good parts of the original stuff that we see in the show, while also adding more lore from the books and, maybe add Dante's past when he was a boy after the death of his family, to sort of enrichen him and sort of get add stuff to the goddamn show and just make it so much more interesting in that way. If the story went in this direction or just closer to the original game, I would have liked it more. Enriched it, and if they would have just enriched that whole story in of itself and with better banter and Dante in front stage, have Lady's dad be part of the rabbits group of like-minded demonoids, I guess, giving Lady a struggle between her duties as a soldier and her vendetta against her dad. That could have been really fucking interesting. But, I'm just some guy on the internet talking shit, right? But yeah, a story that gives everyone a little bit of their arc, but the main one is Dante facing his father's legacy and finding his brother already on the path at the top of the tower, and we both see them clash in spectacular fashion. I'm not particularly a fan of the direction for the show because it's far from the original story, and I like that one more compared to this one. We know that there are way too many changes with no real reason besides just being different. But yeah, these are my thoughts on the new Devil May Cry animated series on Netflix. Again, for me, around a 6 or a 7. It has promise in the long run, but for the first season, besides the action, I wasn't really feeling it. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you're loving the content. Stay safe mentally, emotionally, and physically. See you guys next time. Peace.